The moment BTS arrived in Canada, the atmosphere surrounding Toronto suddenly felt completely different. For months, Canadian Army had been counting down to this moment, and now the wait had entered its final chapter. The 7 members of BTS, RM, Jin, SUGA, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jung Kook, were preparing to bring their massive ARIRANG World Tour to Toronto, and the excitement was already spreading across the city long before the first note of the concert would ever be heard. The group is scheduled to perform at Rogers Stadium in Toronto on August 22nd and August 23rd, 2026, with both shows listed for 8 p.m. But on August 20th, with Toronto already buzzing ahead of the weekend, one question dominated the minds of fans everywhere. Had BTS finally arrived in Canada? Reports and fan activity surrounding the group's Toronto stop created an atmosphere of anticipation that made every airport sighting, every black vehicle, every movement near Pearson Airport feel potentially significant. It was the kind of atmosphere that only a global superstar group like BTS can create. The airport itself became part of the story. Toronto Pearson is normally one of Canada's busiest gateways, filled with travelers arriving from every corner of the world. But whenever a global phenomenon, such as BTS, is expected, ordinary airport routines can suddenly become extraordinary. Fans begin watching entrances, tracking possible movements, exchanging theories online, and waiting patiently for even the smallest glimpse of their favorite artists. And this time, the excitement was amplified by the fact that BTS were not simply visiting Toronto for a casual appearance. They were coming for one of the biggest stops of their ARIRANG World Tour. The significance of that cannot be overstated. BTS had already traveled through enormous stadiums and major cities during this global journey, and Toronto represented another major chapter in a tour that has become one of the defining concert events of 2026. Ticketmaster Canada currently lists BTS World Tour ARIRANG in Toronto for August 22nd and August 23rd at Rogers Stadium. For Canadian Army, those 2 dates represent far more than 2 concerts. They represent the return of all 7 members to the Canadian stage as a complete group, bringing together the music, choreography, visuals, emotion, and massive fan culture that have made BTS one of the most influential groups in modern pop music. The excitement surrounding Toronto had already been building for days. Local coverage reported that BTS Army were taking over the city ahead of the stadium shows, describing the atmosphere as a kind of homecoming. That word, homecoming, captures something important about BTS in Toronto. This is not simply a foreign artist arriving in a foreign city. BTS have built a deeply connected international fan base, and Canadian Army have been waiting for an opportunity to experience the group together again on a stadium scale. The anticipation has spread beyond the concert venue itself. Fans have been discussing where the members might appear, what they might wear, what songs could make the final set list, how the stage might look, and whether the Toronto shows could produce another unforgettable Army moment. And then came the airport excitement. Toronto Pearson became one of the most closely watched locations in the city. Every potential BTS-related movement immediately generated attention. For fans who could not attend the airport, social media became their window into the moment. Videos, photographs, rumors, and fan reports began circulating rapidly, creating a digital crowd that was almost as energetic as the physical one. The arrival of BTS in Canada is especially meaningful because this leg of the tour follows an intense run of stadium performances across the United States. The group had already performed at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, and AT&T Stadium in Arlington before heading north toward Toronto. Ticketmaster's current tour listing places the Arlington shows on August 15th and 16th, and the Toronto shows immediately afterward on August 22nd and 23rd. That schedule tells its own story. BTS are moving through some of the largest stadium environments in North America, city after city, with very little time between major performances. Toronto therefore arrives at a crucial point in the ARIRANG Tour. It is the group's Canadian stop before the tour continues to Chicago on August 27th and 28th. For fans, that means the Toronto shows are not merely another pair of dates on a long itinerary. They are a rare opportunity to witness BTS in Canada during one of the most ambitious periods of their touring career. The ARIRANG era itself has become a major cultural moment. The group's return as a full 7-member lineup has generated enormous attention worldwide, and the tour has transformed that anticipation into stadium-scale experiences. Earlier in the year, BTS opened their North American run in Tampa, Florida, where they performed the first of several massive stadium shows. The scale of the tour has been extraordinary, with coverage describing a global run spanning more than 85 dates in 34 cities across 23 countries. That context makes Toronto even more significant. The Canadian stop is one piece of a worldwide journey, but for the fans waiting in Toronto, it is the most important piece of all. Fans are not simply watching a concert. They are watching a new chapter in the story of 7 artists who have spent more than a decade building something extraordinary. RM, known for his thoughtful leadership and ability to connect the group's work to larger cultural ideas, represents one part of that story. Jimin brings his distinctive humor, warmth, and stage presence. SUGA brings his intensity and musical identity. J-Hope brings an explosive performance energy that has become one of his trademarks. Jimin brings emotional sensitivity and extraordinary performance detail. V brings his distinctive artistic personality and unmistakable presence. Jung Kook brings a combination of vocals, dance, charisma, and stage confidence that has made him one of the most closely watched performers of his generation. Together, they create something none of them could reproduce individually, BTS. And Toronto is about to experience that combination again. The airport arrival, therefore, carries symbolic weight. The journey from the airport to the city is more than transportation. It is the final movement before the stage lights come on. The members have crossed borders, traveled thousands of kilometers, and continued a demanding schedule. And now they're entering the city where Canadian Army have been waiting. The weekend schedule is already official. BTS will perform at Rogers Stadium on Saturday, August 22nd, and Sunday, August 23rd, both at 8 p.m., according to Ticketmaster Canada. Local Toronto event coverage also lists both dates as major upcoming events for the city. This means the countdown is no longer measured in months or weeks. It is measured in hours. And as the hours disappear, the excitement becomes increasingly intense. One of the most fascinating aspects of BTS concerts is a transformation of an ordinary venue into a completely different environment. Rogers Stadium may be a physical location, but once Army begin arriving, it becomes a shared emotional space. Fans from Toronto will likely be joined by visitors from across Canada and beyond. Some will travel from nearby cities. Others may have crossed provinces. Some may have traveled internationally. They will arrive carrying light sticks, banners, cameras, handmade signs, gifts, and years of memories. For some, this may be their first BTS concert. For others, it may be the continuation of a journey that began years ago. There will be fans who remember discovering BTS through older songs. There will be fans who followed the members through their solo releases. There will be fans who attended earlier tours and now return to experience the 7-member group again. And there will be younger fans experiencing their first major stadium concert. All of these stories will converge in Toronto. The city is therefore becoming more than a stop on the ARIRANG itinerary. It is becoming a temporary home for one of the world's largest fan communities. The phrase "Toronto is purple" may sound simple, but the reality behind it is enormous. When thousands of people share the same favorite artists, the same songs, the same symbols, and the same emotional memories, an entire city can feel transformed. Restaurants, hotels, public transportation, shopping areas, and entertainment districts can all become part of the experience. Fans meet strangers and immediately become friends because of one common connection. Someone notices a BTS shirt. Someone else has a purple light stick. A conversation starts. A photograph is taken. A memory is created. That is the social power of a major BTS event. And the airport is often where this energy begins. For a global group, airport arrivals are moments of transition. The members move from one world to another, from private travel into public performance. Fans understand that boundary, and many simply hope for a respectful glimpse. The most memorable airport moments are not necessarily the loudest. Sometimes it is a simple wave, a quick smile, a nod, a member looking toward fans for a second before continuing toward the vehicle. Those tiny gestures can become the images fans remember for years. That is why airport arrival stories spread so quickly. A few seconds can become an emotional highlight for thousands of people. Yet the biggest story is not what happens at the airport. The biggest story is what happens next. BTS have 2 stadium performances ahead of them, and Toronto has been preparing. The city is expecting a huge influx of fans, and the concerts have become a major event on the local calendar. A Toronto guide published ahead of the shows described BTS as making their way to the city for 2 sold-out shows, reflecting the scale of interest surrounding the visit. The phrase "sold out" is important because it illustrates how much demand exists for the group's return. A stadium concert requires an enormous production. Stage construction, lighting, sound systems, screens, security, transportation, staff, merchandise operations, hospitality, and thousands of people working behind the scenes. Long before BTS appear on stage, an army of professionals has already been preparing. And now the artists themselves have arrived. That changes everything. For fans watching online, the arrival may feel like the starting gun has been fired. The final countdown has begun. What will the members do before the concert? Will they rest? Will they rehearse? Will they film behind-the-scenes content? Will they interact with fans? Will one of them surprise everyone with a new hairstyle or outfit? These questions are part of the excitement surrounding every BTS stop. Their fans have developed an incredible ability to notice details. A small accessory can become a topic of conversation. A new hairstyle can generate thousands of posts. A rehearsal sound can create speculation about the set list. A photograph from a hotel or restaurant can become a viral moment within minutes. That level of attention is a direct result of BTS's global influence. But there is another reason Toronto feels particularly special. Canada has a long history of passionate BTS support. Canadian Army have been part of the group's international fandom for years, and the Toronto concerts provide an opportunity for that community to gather on a massive scale. The city itself is one of the most diverse urban centers in North America, and that diversity mirrors the international nature of BTS's audience. At a BTS concert, people from different backgrounds stand beside each other, united by music. The language may differ. Their hometowns may differ. Their ages may differ. Their personal stories may differ. But when the opening music begins, those differences disappear into one collective voice. That is the power BTS have built, and Toronto is about to experience it. The ARIRANG era also carries a special sense of return. Ticketmaster Canada describes the tour as BTS's first headline world tour since 2021 to 22, following the group's 5th studio album, ARIRANG. For fans, that long gap makes these stadium shows even more emotional. A full BTS world tour is not an ordinary event. It is a reunion between the group and millions of people who have followed their journey through changing circumstances. The members themselves have grown during the years between major world tours. Their individual artistic identities have developed. Their solo work has expanded their musical horizons. Their experiences have changed them. And now, those individual journeys are returning to a collective stage. Toronto is therefore witnessing not simply a concert tour, but a reunion of 7 distinct artistic personalities. The ARIRANG stage becomes a place where their individual histories meet. That is why fans are already analyzing every detail. They want to know which songs will appear. They want to know how the members will interact. They want to know whether there will be special moments unique to Toronto. They want to know what the opening will look like. They want to know how the final song will feel. But perhaps most importantly, they want to experience the atmosphere of seeing all 7 members together again. That emotion cannot be reproduced through a screen. It cannot be fully captured in a short video. It exists in the stadium when thousands of voices sing at the same time. It exists when the lights go dark. It exists when the first member appears. It exists when the army bombs illuminate the audience. It exists when the members look out and realize just how many people have